So today I'm talking about grace, which I learned from the Resilience Summit from Miranda MacPherson. And so the floor of grace, the blessings of grace, is to be in grace is to be in the transforming presence of grace, to be being graceful, and all depends on our capacity to surrender me, mine, ego to the way, what life is presenting, rather than dominating with my will. It's an invitation to approach challenges with openness and curiosity and compassion, and like roll up our sleeves and see what we're being asked to learn or let go of, and what's viable, what's not, what can we contribute or not, and how can we adapt or be flexible enough to channel creativity and new possibility by being of service in novel ways versus reacting, I have to do this has to happen, to responding, which is humility. It's trust, expansion, and willingness to flow with what's being asked of us, and being more internally peaceful and also more enjoyable for others. And the floor of grace is like this idea of a earthy foundation of universal nourishing, healing, and giving, loving, relieving. It's impersonal life, supporting goodness. We can relax out of the shame or the fear, the control, judgment, hate, anger. These are ego densities when we feel breathed and lived by the source presence that we can directly feel and experience, allowing us to stop taking our thoughts to be reality and yield from tension of trying to manipulate when we're informed by memory, because the blessing of grace is to be in a shower of protective, loving light, shepherded from harm, that's guiding us toward what we really need and cultivating the virtues of trust and humility, patience and joy, and combating any opposing factors like depression or low self-esteem or feelings of unworthiness and inadequacy. We are inherently valuable in a non-performative way. So the transformative power of grace means that there's a top of a mountain, like a hardened, dense ice pack warmed by the sun that turns into a waterfall, like from the white snow cap. And so flowing fluid, transparent, strength, courage, noble empathy, and inspiration flow through and help us deal with tough terrains like betrayal and hurts, endings and grief, and with dissolving and evolving and growing like a butterfly, living in the kingdom of heaven while still being fully present in the human realm, which is to be both the feminine approach, consciously embodying deep truth of our real nature without shying away from the perceived muck or the trenches, and practicing in daily life, and the challenge of surrender of the will. Will I get annihilated? Will I be okay? Where will it go? Etc. The ego is the sense of self based on the impressions of the past and the conclusions we've arrived at about who we are and who others are and how the world works and how we have to be in order to operate, which is like layers of the mind to be contacted and dissolved that prevent us from seeing objective reality and not shining the surface of the mud onto the jewel, rather exposing the radiant jewel itself. Gentle awareness touches resistance and concerns, and its potent power relaxes the ego because it brings consciousness toward the experience and just experience it, witnessing and allowing it, versus it should or shouldn't be this way, and it's super ego hooks. So being in grace is being in direct experience without trying to rearrange, change, or shift anything, rather than the thoughts around it, which is our presence. We become awake to who we are. The body is the vehicle, not separated from our life. Our consciousness seeps and infuses and permeates, and there's a mystery and a maturity operating in these fields in a daily active way. Being an instrument is like a grace delivery device, prayer, like asking to be healing and helpful and loving and true. And let's say we go to our body, we have the head, which is the perception and knowing center. And in Judaism, we know the soul resides in the head. Then we have the heart, the feeling center. And this is where what seals, it's like the heart seals for the mind. And then there's the gut, which is the embodiment, being here and now, the center, like being in the physical world, not chasing and not running away from, but being. So 3 spouts to radiate grace from, plus we're receiving as it goes up the central channel to come out. So experiencing feeling welcomed and supported and accompanied and gifted by life when there's nothing to do or fix or become, and the core of holy goodness radiating pure and perfect source of life and joy goes with us wherever we go. And so now I'll talk about what we're working with, which is the default mode network, right? And So we have these background operations, and they're called the default mode network. And we can hide it when we don't feel okay and feel violated if someone knew that we weren't okay. And this is like the baggage of old patterns that we're afraid of appearing needy or ignorant. So we convince ourselves and others that they aren't really useful, helpful, or supportive. And enough, and we have everything without them, and that includes all the answers. And this is giving of a shallow approval, empty reassurance to ourselves and others because we're too lazy and afraid to do the real work around being seen and accepted and honest, or give that real work to, or which is like giving the space, tolerance for others. And we're protecting others from their pain and frustration, preventing them from falling in love with themselves and learning to rely on themselves, and ultimately also giving away our peace as if it was less important than theirs. So we prevent ourselves from becoming a divine messenger by judging and repressing our actual discernment that we have, our nature, our wisdom, our love, our truth, our callings, and our intuition, and blocking out or incubating in people, like isolating when we feel hurt instead of learning to sit with it and express it and integrate lessons in and under the experience, or pretending that we're not things that we are, resulting in not belonging or feeling community and faking it as if we're something different. Like on the flip side, like I think Freud calls it reaction formation. It's like when you do exactly, you like make up a different thing than you are. So in this baggage of old patterns, we might lie to let go, get out of things, and to blame others so we didn't have to admit that we made a mistake and we need to apologize or amend over. We might not want to admit our powerlessness or helplessness in an area, or we might want recognition and appreciation from people who are not capable of understanding us or accepting us. We might avoid the love we deserve because we fail to see the capacity to change and grow together with someone as more sustainable or valuable than having them meet very specific needs. Or we may prioritize others at our own expense, thinking, like I might prioritize someone at my own expense, thinking that peace and fulfillment comes from sacrifice and self-nullifying. These are all baggage. And I would like to finish with talking about money, because this is like a big, I think it's very relevant for grace and the default mode network. And this is from Sarah McCrum, and I heard it on the Resilience Summit. So money loves us and wants us to have it. It's a supportive energy of fulfillment and generosity. Opening the heart rather than the mind can actually associate money with joy and beauty. We can be able to relax with money, enabling us to be more receptive as long as we have places to set up in our life that money can come through. We can replace hard work and constant achievement with enjoyment, a deeper, richer, and simpler kind. Gratitude connects a flow, a current, appreciation rather than striving. So asking for the money directly to come through us, to treat us to what we want, not in an arrogant, entitled, grumpy, resentful, prideful way, but open to receiving, relaxing, and happy about it. How does money see me and relate to me in whatever situation I'm in is like how to start forming a relationship with it. We know that money connects us to humanity through goods, service, and exchange. We can accept the money that we think we deserve, regardless of, our education, our experience. And money is saying that we were the blockage. Like we thought we were bad, or I thought I was bad, unworthy, stingy, undeserving, or too loath to be I was too loathed by others or myself even to be open and unafraid. And money sort of like, I had a meditation where it like brushed my hair back sweetly and said at my forehead and welcomed me sweetly with nurturing and letting money be divine. It was a misunderstanding that it isn't, that anyone ever said money is the root of all evil, or it's bad, or it hates or avoids us, me. Money is involved in living. We need clothes, shower, rent, food, and thus it's an important relationship, and it's widespread in its effects. So when we're in a relationship, we have to engage fully internally. We hang out with it, we think and feel around it, understand the connection requires meaning, and also departing, like meeting, like, so when we make meaning, we come together, like mean something, but then we also have to like let go. So we meet together, like my ground, your ground, and common ground. So we meet and we depart, and then there's giving and receiving, and it will show us money where we're not showing up fully, and then it shows up for us. And we each have a personal development system. So somebody might have like a financial, like a system, and there's background operations, for example. So it might not develop as much as it could, except when you have a consultant come in and then you check. So it's important to see if we have a scarcity mindset, whether there's guilt and shame, or, for example, like if I have more, someone else has less, or that there's a finite amount of money versus like it's sourced in love and abundance, which is infinite. And there's another idea of not acting poor. Like when we buy things not just a little nicer, it signals that we don't have too little and there's not a deficit. And we're open to higher quality of life versus fake it till you make it, which actually pressures and disrespects our energy. And finally, when we explore the influence that the collective happens, eventually, in other words, first being an example of the change, talking about things, being conscious in our decisions, then we can create our life that which can sustain our clarity and joy and our gratitude. So we don't have to worry about like teaching people about how we see money. It'll just happen naturally. I hope this was interesting. I wish you well. Good night.